Hey everyone, Cool Cats Crochets here, and this is the first video I'm making for my business documentaries for Cool Cats Crochets. I can't tell you all how excited I am. This is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. I just haven't really had the motivation to really push myself to put my projects out there. I have been crocheting for, let me see, I am 32 years old. I have been crocheting for well over 20 years, maybe a little, almost 25 actually. My great-grandmother was a famous seamstress, and my grandmother learned all the art about sewing from her. She also picked up the trade of crochet along the way, and she ended up teaching me all the basics about crocheting. The first thing I ever learned how to make was those little bitty coasters, and it didn't take long for me to get hooked on the craft, even though the first few works I ever made were definitely not up to standard. They were pretty sloppy, to say the least, but I just worked at it, and eventually I was able to crank out things like hats and ponchos and shirts, and it was a lot of fun being able to see just what kind of works you could make with just a little hook and some yarn. And I just started crafting and just kept going and improving my skills, and here I am today. Originally, how Cool Cats Crochets came to be was one day I was just browsing on Pinterest, just trying to get some ideas of maybe I could come up with some new fun design to put on my craft or things like that. And to my surprise, I came across a picture of someone on Pinterest who had crocheted an entire collection of Sailor Moon dolls. And Sailor Moon kind of holds a special place in my heart because it was one of the first real animes that I ever truly watched and really enjoyed. But upon further inspection of these dolls, I couldn't help but notice the design flaws in them, and they really weren't as nice as they could have been. They had those little dot beady eyes, which personally I think is the cheapest thing in existence. And I also noticed they didn't have any mouths. They were just so that really kind of bothered me. It's like, I can probably come up with something much better than this. And it came one of those situations where if I can make a Sailor Moon doll, how much more can I create? So it kind of became a little bit of an obsession after that point. I kept going, improving my craft, and before I even realized it, I had all the Sailor Moon dolls, including Tuxedo Mask, sitting in front of me. And that was pretty much the moment where I realized this is something that I can do that people will actually want. The fact that I was able to create something that people wanted was so inspirational, motivating, and I was finally able to see what my husband, my mother, my grandmother, my sisters, I was finally able to see what they were all talking about when they were saying my works were amazing pieces of art and that I should take great pride in the fact that I made them. And they were right. So I used their support. I kept improving my craft, and anime is such a huge thing in the world today, all countries, and there's so many different types. And I began looking at details of several characters that I knew were popular and trying to decipher what could I do to really not only make these into dolls, but make their details pop. For example, my Power Ranger dolls, that was a huge accomplishment, to say the least, because every single one of them, they had intricate details on their helmets, not only from the animal mediums, or whatever they call them, that they were based off of, but their visors were all different shapes and sizes. And that was, I would say that was the first real challenge I ever set for myself, was that I would be able to get the detailing just right on those. And it took me several months to complete. And I especially wanted to take my time on them because I am a little bit of a Jason David Frank fanatic. See, I'm actually shaking just talking about him. He's awesome. And I was very nervous. I can't tell you all how nervous I was when I had the collection in front of me and I posted pictures online of what I had made. I was so nervous that people were gonna say, oh, these looks really sloppy. They look nothing like the characters. But I got absolutely nothing but positive feedback, and everybody was suddenly placing orders for my stuff. Each doll presented its own unique challenge, which was very fun to figure out how to overcome. For example, you wouldn't think this, but the most challenging aspect for most of these dolls has been their hair. Goku and Vegeta, obviously, with those huge spikes. Sailor Mini-Moon with not only those really poofy pigtails, but she also has those other little pigtails that are pointing straight up. It's all based on trial and error, as every good crafter knows. But this weekend I am over the moon excited to say that we will be going to a convention for the first time as a vendor to sell my dolls. We are going to the Con-Nuga convention in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It is, I can't tell you all how ecstatic, nervous, freaking out, anxious I am. It's hard for me to believe that later tonight, my husband and I are actually going to load everything into the car to get ready to go first thing in the morning. Also going with us is our very good friends, David and Brittany. Brittany, let me tell you guys, is an amazing artist. She has this talent of taking, I don't want to put words into her mouth, but she has a talent of taking like animal people and just making them look really detailed and really exciting. She is actually the one who designed my special logo for me. This is my sweet little Keo bear, which looks absolutely precious. And I asked her if, I pretty much gave her the rundown of what I had in mind, and she took it from there and just made it something much better than I could have ever come up with. So big kudos to you, Brittany. Love you for that. This is all better than I could have asked for. She and her husband David are going to come down and help us at Con-Nuga, get everything set up, keep an eye on my dolls, and she's also going to take the opportunity to promote her own art, which I'm very excited for her, because she doesn't give herself enough credit, honestly. She could probably, I mean, I know there are some amazing artists at cons, but she could definitely give them all a run for her money. For their money, I'm sorry, their money. So they will be coming later Thursday, pretty much after we get everything set up. They will be showing up at our hotel. Unfortunately, they weren't able to take time off work Thursday, but they were able to take time off for the rest of the weekend, which honestly is much more than I could have asked for. They have a pretty crazy work schedule. They tend to work really late into the night, and even on weekends. I don't know how they're able to work as many hours as they do. And they will definitely be a huge help during my first time as a vendor. Our first convention is in our home state of Tennessee. My husband would have actually absolutely strangled me if I had asked him if we did a con in another state. But I will definitely keep you all updated on how things go. Try to make, I guess I don't want to say like a whole video about this whole thing, but pretty much that is what I'm doing. Want to say hi to the camera, everyone? Aw, oh baby. He has the sweetest little purrs. It doesn't take long for him. Oh, there we go. Look at the camera, you silly boy. He senses when Mama has a camera out, and he doesn't always like it. Meow meow. Hey, There's my sweet boy. You say hi to everybody.